Folks, we are live with episode 7 of Everything Pro Wrestling. I am your host, ConradKushman, and this is a show for the fans. And we are happy to announce that we have a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Brian Mazique. Brian, say what's up to the people, man.
What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be here. I appreciate Conrad having me on. Let's do it.
All right. Brian, tell them a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Well, I am a feature columnist for Bleacher Report. I also write. I'm gonna actually begin writing for Forbes.com beginning February 28th, the week of February 28th. I'm a huge wrestling fan, huge combat sports fan. I'm basically a huge sports fan. Period. Just been blessed enough to be able to write about stuff that I would talk about for free, basically.
All right, well, let's waste no time and get right into it. The first thing on our docket to talk about is WWE Fastlane Thoughts. Now, I know you put up a video already on your channel talking about everything. So, overall, though, what did you think of the entire show? I'm not going to go through match by match for this, but what did you think of everything?
I thought it was pretty bad.
Honesty is key.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad, man. I don't even know what to say, dude. It was like a moderately good episode of Raw.
To me, it felt like the show was okay, but it just didn't have you hyped for WrestleMania. It's not selling me on like, I have to see this. I need to take the day off of work to see this. I just felt like, okay.
Well, for me, it was more like this. It was kind of like when you do a pay-per-view, the perfect pay-per-view has awesome. I'm not even gonna go and say every match on the card has to have awesome in-ring work because I think that's probably a little unrealistic. But I would say 60% of the matches need to have good to awesome in-ring work, and there needs to be some level of climatic or something compelling that happens from a storyline, from a match, from a mic work standpoint. All of that meshing together makes for a great pay-per-view, right? Now, sometimes you have either or. Sometimes you'll have a pay-per-view where the in-ring work is but what I remember is this huge storyline thing that went on. Boom. Then other times you have it where nothing really great happens in storyline, but you have great matches. I don't think we got any of those three things that I just named from Fastlane. The matches were forgettable for the most part. Even the main event. There was nothing huge that happened, like you mentioned, about pushing us towards WrestleMania. Nothing like that happened. So that was an episode of Raw to me.
It's just, I don't know. I try and wait. This is why I do the show the next day or the day after Raw, so I'm not too judgmental, so that I'm like, let me sleep on it. And maybe when I wake up, I'll say, maybe I was a little harsh. It wasn't that bad, or I was too hyped for it. It was too good, but that just felt like blah. And WWE's felt like blah for a while. Like they go through these spurts and then they try and get us excited with certain things and get us all pumped up. And I've been a fan for a long time, probably since the 80s. And it's just real hard for me to just say that show was good at all. There was nothing about it that was appealing. And it's just bad. You could tell it was bad because afterwards they waited to plug that signing of Nakamura with Triple H. And fans were like, really? This is what you're going to do? Really? You're going to show this now after that horrible pay-per-view? And they were just trying to cheer everybody up. So you could tell they were trying to do some damage control with everything.
I mean, quite honestly, man, they would have been better off having Nakamura, having that signing announced during the pay-per-view and having him like come on the Jumbotron and call somebody out. That would have at least helped. But the one thing I will say about this is I do think that overall fans are far more critical of the product than they ever have been. And I don't know that that's all together their fault. I am of the opinion that this particular invention that we're using right now has ruined wrestling. The internet has killed just about everything about wrestling that we used to like. It's almost impossible for them to surprise us anymore because if somebody's coming back, word gets out some sort of way to somebody. If there's some sort of surprising signing that's going to be made, we're going to know about it before it happens. It's very difficult. And then it's also because of social media, everybody has this voice, and because everybody feels empowered, they're over empowered. So now everybody wants to control the storylines. You know, back in the day when we watched wrestling, we watched it for the show. You know, we said, hey, who's the face? Who's the heel? We watched it, and whatever happened is whatever it happened. You booed or you cheered for your people that you liked. You booed who you didn't like. You didn't find anybody talking about they need better writers. That's a new thing in the last 10 years. And I think that's just a product of our society. It's kind of, I always make this analogy, right? When you go to see a movie and you're watching the movie, and okay, say Ryan Reynolds is the lead character or whatever, right? Well, Ryan Reynolds dies in the hour into the movie, and you're like, man, I really like Ryan Reynolds. I really want. How many people do you see jump up and boo the screen because something in the story they wanted to happen didn't happen? But for some reason, there's a disconnect with wrestling where people forget this is a story. There are writers. They wrote this story. You don't get to try to influence a writer's story so you can get to see the people you wanted to win. And I hate that, because I think Roman Reigns is a talented guy. And I think just his mic work isn't great, but he's a talented guy. And I just think that people have decided we're not going to let him be good.
I 100% agree with you. I think Roman Reigns gets a bad rap from a lot of people, and it hurts real bad just to see how many people dog this man. And usually my question to them is, why don't you like Roman Reigns? And then I just start hearing this, well, it's because of WWE. And I'm like, so your problem's with WWE, not Roman Reigns, right? Because they're hurting this guy. They're crushing him. And I'm like, he hasn't done anything wrong.
No.
In my opinion, nothing to warrant the reactions he gets.
Nothing, man. I mean, his matches are awesome. He's super athletic. I mean, he is, and he's willing to sacrifice his body. He doesn't have you can tell there's not a bunch of restrictions on the way he's booked. You know, he will do whatever. And in the ring, he has that flash where everything he does looks awesome. You know, so it's almost like people are watching his matches and they go, ooh, and they go, oh, I forgot, I hate him. You know what I'm saying?
You noticed that with the world title booking, even when he won the belt from Sheamus that one night. People cheered when he won that night. And I was like, oh, isn't it funny now how it was all good until the Royal Rumble came around. Then it was, oh, no, we can't have any of this.
Yeah, because
we're supposed to boot this guy.
Reminded people of last year when they really turned on him, you know, because of the Daniel Bryan thing. And I'm going to be honest, I love Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's a super nice guy, you know, he's a cool dude, you know, but fans made me want to dislike him. Because
I'm going to have to ask you why here.
Because the way fans were like, they were like almost trying to hold the whole joint hostage. Well, you're going to make Daniel Bryan what we want Daniel Bryan to be. And if you don't, we're going to boo everybody else. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing? You know, and it was just crazy because if Daniel Bryan, if there wasn't the following and the movement behind Daniel Bryan that there was, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about Roman Reigns. But because people feel empowered to try to influence a story that's written, which is what WWE is, which is what professional wrestling is, now Daniel Bryan is he's the guy to get behind, and Roman Reigns has been made the bad. It blows me, man. Like, wrestling fans are so full of themselves, man. You go to a show, right? And a guy's literally there trying to do his mic work, and people won't let him do his mic work because they want to chant stuff from a character he had 10 years ago.
Are you referring to the what chants that I think need to go away?
I'm talking about the what chants. I'm talking about the sexual chocolate chants. I'm talking about when Bray first started and people were chanting Husky Harris. Like, it's just, get over yourself, man. Did you pay to yell and say and try to get your voice heard over the mic, or did you pay to see the show?
Absolutely. And I think we're on a good discussion point here. Let me say this. I think the main reason why people rebel against the system for WWE is because of when WWE pushes someone, you know who it is and who's that guy, who they're trying to make the next big thing. They get that kind of John Cena-esque push. They're not losing. They don't put anything over it. And then they start doing that goofy stuff like I'm just going to laugh it off even though I should ask for a rematch. Well, I lost my belt. And they come out. It's just certain things that they do that I'm like, why does WWE set themselves up like this? And then on the same end, I see why people get behind, let's just say a Bray Wyatt or a Kevin Owens, because normally the face is the one that gets beaten down over and over and over, and he has to find a way to overcome that. When you're beating down those heels the same way, that's why people are getting behind them. I think WWE's logic is just off a little bit. They have to outsmart the fans a little bit more.
Well, I think when you use the term beaten down, I think it's two different definitions, because the faces get beaten down within the storyline. They take beatings. Then you have guys like Kevin Owens and Bray Wyatt who are not necessarily getting beaten down in the storylines, but especially Bray Wyatt. Now, I do believe that I don't understand what they're doing with Bray Wyatt. I really don't. He came out and he had the most chilling promos probably since Jake the Snake. I don't know if I can remember a heel being as over as a heel and as to be able to do the type of things he was doing since Jake the Snake, right? Okay, but then you persist to have him lose all of these feuds, and then without any real explanation, he just keeps going from guy to guy, picking different guys that now he has this call over, and now the impact of his promos is like, now he's just a fat guy whispering, every single time. You know me, I'm Bray. And it's just like, you did that last week, dude, and it didn't matter because you lost your feud to Chris Jericho, who I think should never be allowed in the ring again. Oh my God, Chris Jericho looks so bad right now, man. He looks so bad, right? He almost killed AJ Styles on 2 different occasions at Fastlane. He almost killed him.
He missed that spot with the AJ where he usually does the flip and then catches you with that quick DDT. AJ saved it, but
that could have been AJ's neck, literally on his neck in the corner. And when I start seeing that, that's when I'm like, and then I'm gonna be honest, I'm not trying to start a rumor or nothing, but I'm not sure Jericho was all the way sober, because his promo before that, he was flushed faced and his eyes were not square.
I hope not. I hope no one would get in the ring or allow someone to get into a ring like that.
Man, you already know. If they didn't have anybody else to throw out there with AJ Styles, Jericho's going to get out there, especially with Vince back in control of things with a strong hand like he is now. Yeah. So, and he just, like, the only thing I can say about Jericho is he can still hit a lion salt.
I think Jericho's heart is starting to become less and less into it. I interact with some of these guys at my job, and when I see them, Jericho, the last time he showed up for a house show or whatever it was, and Jericho just seemed like he was more worried about the Fozzy stuff, talking about music and stuff. I was just like, I don't know, his heart just didn't seem into it as much. I mean, I think he wants to help the young guys, but he just, I don't know, I think his heart's in 2 different places. He has to pick one. He can't go back and forth from what he used to love to what he loves now.
I totally understand. I see that. I can see that being the case. But he's also fat, and he should go to a singlet as his wrestling attire, because his chest does not is not fit for public consumption anymore. I mean, this is not the 80s, man. Ric Flair is not, you can't do that, and every time Jericho comes out, I'm like, this is going to be a nothing feud. This is a nothing feud.
He's lost his luster with putting people over all the time too.
Yeah, and because we know that's what he is now. You know, it's kind of like, it's almost like there's a super middleweight boxer named Darnell Boone. Darnell Boone has fought just about everybody there is that has any type of name that has come up through that particular weight class, right? 160, 168, maybe even 175. He's fought everybody. And he's given a lot of guys a tough deal. He knocked Adonis Stevenson out, right? So he knocked Andre Ward down. But when you see somebody get in the ring with Darnell Boone, you already know what the deal is. He's the gatekeeper. He's the guy that you fight to make sure that you're whatever. But because this is professional wrestling, and we know that, you know, this is scripted, when you see somebody get in a feud with Chris Jericho, you already know, okay, he's supposed to give whatever little thing or whatever, but they're going to beat Jericho, and Jericho's going to look at him and go, shake his hand and go, I'm the best in the world at what I do, even though I lost the Fandango. Come on, man.
It's a rough one for him. I guess let's get into this Raw recap real quick. Raw was live from Detroit, Michigan in the Joe Louis Arena. Vince McMahon comes out. He's ready to present the Vincent J. McMahon Legacy of Excellence Award, which he awarded to his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, because that's his prized possession. Stephanie comes out ready to accept it, and she's all gung-ho. And then all of a sudden, Shane McMahon's music hits, which I lost my mind.
Money.
I absolutely love Shane McMahon, and I think any old fan has to like him. So Shane's music hits, and this is what people have been asking for probably the last 2 to 3 years, I want to say. They just go, where's Shane been, man? He needs to come back on TV. And it gets all convoluted. Shane basically explains, I'm part of this legacy too, and some deal was made between him or Vince, which I kind of like. There's something that they could do storyline-wise with it. And he's basically set up by Vince McMahon and gets thrown into a match at WrestleMania 32 where the company is on the line. Shane McMahon wins. He gets control of the company or Raw. It was kind of mixed up how they were saying it. And he has to defeat The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match. What did you think overall of this segment? Did it do its job? Did that change the Fastlane perspective for you to get you hyped for it?
It didn't change Fastlane. Fastlane's still crap. But Shane McMahon's awesome. And to see him or have him back, I think is an important figure on the whole WWE scene. I hate to keep using analogies from other sports and stuff like that, but last week, Ken Shamrock fought Hoist Gracie, right? Now, both of those guys are elderly, like, you know.
Elderly is not the word.
Hoist Gracie's 49, Ken Shamrock is 52, right? So I did a recap of that card. Everybody I know pretty much thought it was a joke, right? But my recap got 41,000 views. You know why? Because even though everybody thought it was a joke, people still wanted to see what was going to happen. And I think that the Shane McMahon Undertaker Hell in a Cell match is going to be something like that because both of those guys are pretty elderly. I mean, Shane came out there looking like a distinguished gentleman as opposed to Shane O'Mac, you know, on Monday. So and we already, every time Undertaker fights, we're worried if he's going to need somebody to get life alert for him at the end. So so I think there's a little bit of some nervous energy about that whole thing, but I think it's something that people are going to be compelled to try to want to know what went down with this thing. And then throwing in the whole thing where he gets control of Raw. I'm going to put it like this. If there is no agreement for Shane McMahon to be back on WWE television for a prolonged time period, this is smoke and mirrors and bait and switch.
It would be the worst tease.
Yes. It's not. It wouldn't be a positive at all because people are going to flip.
You already know the reaction. I'm just surprised that some other people don't see the exact same thing. But the Shane McMahon thing too that bothers me is with simple storytelling. I don't know what the problem is with the storytelling. If it's harder because it's a 3-hour show week to week, but if you would have did some simple storytelling, because basically the Undertaker's going to take a match for Vince, and I guess you could say maybe it's his pride and his WrestleMania record, we'll say, is on the line doing this, so he's not going to back down from it. But why would the Undertaker help Vince McMahon if he thought the same thing Shane McMahon did?
Well, I think they're teasing the Undertaker being a heel. I think they did it with the Brock Lesnar thing, with throwing the low blow and, you know, and getting over with the Hell's Gate, you know, getting the win in the controversial fashion. That I think they're teasing that. And I'm quite sure that the Undertaker probably asked for it. He probably said, you know what, let me go out heel, you know, because he's a professional like that. And a lot of those guys, I think, have more fun when they're playing a heel. So I think that he may very well have asked that, and this was a way for that to happen. I mean, anything can happen here. I mean, because the WWE universe is so turned upside down, turning guys heel is so complicated now because the world likes anything that's bad. You know what I'm saying? So if it's bad, if it's negative, people are going to gravitate to it. So it used to be, you take the guy, if you wanted to turn him heel, you knew who to have him attack. Now you can't do that anymore, you know, because I bet you there's been times already in the past that they wanted to turn Dean Ambrose heel, but having him attack Roman Reigns is not going to turn him heel. It's going to get people to cheer him even more.
Exactly.
You know, so they can't do that. So this is why writing in this day and age of WWE is so hard, because all of the rules have changed.
Yeah, it's tough for anybody. I mean, they tease certain things too. I can tell they do a lot of temperature checks. Like when he grabbed Roman Reigns, that wasn't for any reason. They were like, let's see what the reaction would be if he did that. Let's just see if the people would boo him or not. They were like, he's still getting cheered. So no, that's not the wise move to make.
Yo, I wouldn't even had to do that barometer. They could have called me and I would have told them that.
You got Vince is in his ways, man. He thinks he's like, I made this much money doing it now, so you're not going to tell me what to do. Man, I hear that a lot about the writers, that they're like, we come up with good ideas. It's just they get shot down.
I believe that. I totally believe that. I mean, I think I wonder what's going to happen once Vince isn't in control anymore. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder how much the product would change, you know. I think Vince is a bit archaic, even though he still has a presence on screen that's unlike just about anybody. I just wonder, you know, like, here's what I always thought. I always thought, what would happen if the WWE signed a contract with HBO or Showtime? Because I'm going to be perfectly honest, I probably wouldn't watch anymore because it wouldn't be safe for me and my son to watch together anymore because it's already borderline now sometimes. But I think a large percentage of the fan base would love it if they could go even further than they went during the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I think that would make things a lot more interesting. But on the other, I went to school for business, so I got the 3 business degrees. And I always tell people, you got to remember, this is about making money. This ain't about making you happy sometimes. At the end of the day, what's going to make him more money? And Vince McMahon's a very intelligent man. When you're PG, you get way more sponsors. You got people calling you up, Make-A-Wish, Disney. Yeah, you can put our commercials on there. Slim Jim. Look, they got that deal with Snickers. When did they ever have stuff like that previously? When they were during the Attitude Era, what was their main thing? Like AutoZone? I'm like, okay. You're not going to sell that or Skittles to me. I don't care about those things. I get it. I know what they are. But now they're selling Snickers. They have big names doing it this way. And they're making more money now than they ever have. People forget that too. Like they're like, oh, they're not doing well. I'm like, they have more money now than ever. So
yeah, I do think that there's a misconception that they're not making money, which I think it's not. They're just because their ratings are down doesn't mean they're not making money. But I don't know that if they went that route that they wouldn't make money. They would make it in a different way though. What would the contract look like from HBO or Showtime? I mean, you know, wrestling fans are absolutely dedicated, 100% dedicated. And for HBO to be able to have 3 slots, just have a 3-hour slot just plugged into their programming once a week that they know without a doubt people are going to absolutely sit down there and watch. They could even work in something where other HBO programs are hyped during the WWE show. You know, it's different ways to do it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not nudging them towards that. I've always wondered what would happen with that, but like I said, I know it would get too raw for my personal household. But you know, I just hear what people are saying, and people want it to be filthy and they want it to be nasty and grimy. That's what people want, and I'm glad that it's not totally that way, but I don't think that I'm in the majority. I think I'm in the minority with that.
I mean, I would agree too, though. I mean, eventually, if you have children watching this, you're gonna cut out another part of your demographic doing that as well. This is a family show most of the time, and you can bring kids to wrestling events, and it's not too bad. There's usually not too much swearing, except for during this season. Once in a while, you'll catch something. And during that Vince McMahon segment, supposedly he dropped the F-bomb during it too. I saw some videos of that, but
and The Rock is pretty. The Rock, he pushes the envelope probably as far as anybody.
Yeah, I like your idea though. I've never thought about that. If they had that on HBO, could you imagine like a big weekend lineup, WrestleMania on maybe a Sunday night, the Hall of Fame Saturday, and Friday night boxing? Like, man, just that lineup, that would be insane to have something like that. And don't let them get an MMA deal too.
It's a wrap. It's locked. Yeah. You got it locked up. I mean, if they sign Bellator, they got the Bellator, because Bellator's pay-per-views are on Fridays, boxing's on Saturdays, and then the WWE pay-per-view on Sunday. And then Monday Night Raw. And then Monday Night Raw.
I just wonder if they could pay the fees that WWE wants, though, that like USA pays.
I don't see why they wouldn't, because the money that they're going to generate from locking down literally 4 straight days of programming. I mean, the male demographic that they would lock down for 4 straight days would be ridiculous.
Absolutely, and they need that in a time frame where television requires people who are dedicated to a show like that. It would be great to have a show like Sons of Anarchy when that was on, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, whatever you're into. Very few shows have that much dedication. You see a lot of shows come and go.
Yeah.
My girl's down there watching Blackish right now, and I'm like, how long do you think this is going to last on television? I was just talking to her about it, and I'm like, I don't know if we're going to see this show around too much longer. And she was just
never actually seen an episode of that show. I've been meaning to watch it. I kind of think Tracy Ellis Ross is cute in a weird, funny kind of way. But that's the main reason why I've been meaning to watch it, but I haven't got a chance to see it yet.
It's all right. I would recommend you check it out.
Yeah.
Let's run through these other matches real quick. So we had the New Day defeating Neville and the Lucha Dragons, which was pretty cool. Good opening match. After that segment, nothing was going to follow that segment to keep you that hyped. But overall, what are you thinking right now of the New Day and their whole persona and what they do?
I like them for the most part, but I think they're going a little bit too far left. I think a little less gyration, because now it's getting like just goofy. Like, and I know that's their thing, funny, and I love the fact that they're funny, but in the ring they still do great work. Like even Xavier Woods, I think, is a very underrated worker. I think he's solid in there, right? Kofi's great in there, and I think they finally have found Kofi the character that works for him. Like, this is the first time ever Kofi hasn't been bad on the mic.
I think Kofi always had this in him.
Yes, they just didn't give him the right thing.
Absolutely, and with Xavier Woods, I call him the smartest man in professional wrestling.
Oh, he's a monster.
He can wrestle, and he sits outside for most of the matches as the manager. And the dude has a PhD.
Yeah.
You can't fool this dude. I mean,
so he's sitting here collecting a WWE superstar paycheck, and his body is not getting put through the same rigors that everybody else's is.
Very, very intelligent man. Neville's been pretty quiet lately. I don't think they've done too much with him. And the Lucha Dragons, I don't know what they're doing. Are they a team, or is Kalisto the U.S. champ? They're kind of going back and forth.
Well, it's only a matter of time before Kalisto separates himself from Sin Cara. He's just a bigger star. He can, and I hate to say this, and I hate that this matters, but his English is better, and because his English is better, and he's better in the ring too, because Sin Cara / Hunico is sloppy. You know,
yeah.
He's a little sloppy, especially for a high flyer. You know, because high flyers got to be crisp, and he's a little slop. He's about one of the sloppiest high flyers you'll ever see. And Kalisto is super sharp, solid. And Kalisto, I'm telling you, I know Vince McMahon sits up and leans back in his chair, and he mistakenly calls him Rey Mysterio all the time.
The only problem I have with Kalisto, and this is coming from watching him from NXT till now, some matches he's really good or really bad. There's no like middle with him. He makes a lot of mistakes sometimes, where he'll be doing a match and you could see all the mistakes he's making. You're like, man, he's making a lot of mistakes in this one. Like, he's just off a little bit. And then there's times where I'm like, man, this dude can't miss. Everything's on point. Boom, boom, boom. Like you said, real clean and crisp every time. So I think he just has to make sure he stays on the right end of that spectrum without making so many mistakes.
Yeah, and he's a little guy, so that helps, because people they think Vince has that thing about the big guys, but people don't. People like the small guys because it's somebody that they can relate to, because that's closer to their size, you know, and so they dig that. So I think he has to change that in his mind and understand. That's why another reason why Daniel Bryan got so popular. He's a little dude, and people dug the fact that he's a little dude.
And I think you're starting to see the change of culture with that in WWE, at least with that Cruiserweight show. I'm very intrigued by what they're going to do with that in the summertime. The Cruiserweight tournament, I guess they're doing anyone under 205 on the network after NXT on Wednesday nights. And I think that's something showing that they're trying to change and keep up with the times.
Yes.
And I'll bring up something else, too, when we get to it during this that I have an interesting point about with like UFC, like you said, with the small guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to the Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman promo with Dean Ambrose. They showed the attack earlier in the day. I missed part of that, but showing it again helped me out to see it, where he slams him on the car and everything. And what do you think of Dean Ambrose and the theatrics of him driving the ambulance back, wearing the neck brace?
People are going to hate me, but I think Dean Ambrose is probably the most overrated guy in the WWE. Dean is on the microphone. Dean is obviously he's Roddy Piper like, but he's not quite as he has his physical machinations down and that sort of thing, but what comes out of his mouth is not as compelling or as funny or as entertaining as Roddy Piper. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, Roddy Piper was never great in the ring. Never, right? Dean Ambrose is not great in the ring. He's willing to do things, and he doesn't have restrictions on his in-ring booking. But there's nothing about Dean. Dean goes to a lot of the same old moves, and those same old moves are not even spectacular. That rebound clothesline is really not great. You know, it's really not great. The dive through the second rope it's okay. You know, I think people are like, I like Dean Ambrose because he looks like he's a nasty dude. He looks like he doesn't like bathe a lot, you know, and I dig that look. So we like the unbathed superstars. So the unwashed masses, they dig. So I don't know, man. I don't get it with Dean. Why? I mean, I don't dislike Dean. I think he's cool. I don't think he's a horrible guy. but where he is right now in the WWE community is probably like, I would have to say he is the #1 face as far as fans are concerned.
Yes.
As far as fans are concerned, he's the #1 face. And I think that's ridiculous. There's no way, in any way, shape, or form, he's not better than Roman Reigns at anything, because neither of them are great on the mic.
With Dean Ambrose, I think he's in the wrong role. And I said the same thing about Seth Rollins, in my opinion. Dean Ambrose, I think, is definitely a better heel. I saw it in the Shield when he was doing the talking. He was being serious. He had his hair slicked back. He had the earring. He looked cool. And he didn't look like basically what you said, the sloppy hair dude looks like he doesn't bathe. And he looks like probably what a wrestling fan imagines himself to be. He looks like a creative wrestler on WWE 2K16.
Yes.
Basically, though, Seth Rollins, I feel, with his high-flying style, I think the fans want to cheer him. And I think when he comes back, he will get cheered. And I think you have to put him in that face role and Dean in that heel role. And I think that's where the money is to be made between them. They've had great matches already, but that's where the money is, in my opinion.
I will 100% agree, because Dean was much better in the Shield. He was much better. I didn't feel as though he was as overrated as I do now when he was in the Shield. He did have, and I actually got an opportunity to interview him at the WWE 2K16 release, and from what he told me, he wants to be a heel. He wants to be a heel. That's what I think he knows it too, because he told me a story about Roddy Piper, something that Roddy Piper told him. He said that he was walking out and he had just got through doing his spot or whatever, and I guess he had just turned face, and it was obviously right before Roddy Piper passed. He came back into the back, behind the curtain or whatever, and Roddy said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't be looking at them." And he was talking about the crowd. He said, "Because he said, when you walk out there, you focus on one thing. You don't look any of those people in the face. You walk to that ring and you do your business. You do your job. As soon as you start getting preoccupied with hearing those cheers, it's going to dilute your character." And this is what he told me that Roddy said. And I just think that maybe if they keep him in this role too long, he's going to lose that he was trying to based off of the advice that he was given from Piper. So I agree. Heel is the right spot for him. Seth can do anything. I'm at that point with him now that I literally think he has no weaknesses. He literally has no weaknesses. At first he was uncomfortable on the mic, but it took him about 4 or 5 months, and the dude is like, I talked about this. I wrote an article about this once. In baseball, they have a 5-tool player. I said, well, what's a 5-tool WWE superstar? You got to look the part. So whatever it is about you, if you're not a big, huge, muscular guy, you got to have some type of muscular definition nowadays to, look the part. You got to be solid in the ring. And when I say solid in the ring, it can't be all offensive. You got to know how to sell too. Check. You got to have a solid finisher that can be performed on anybody, regardless of the size of the guy, which is what was, to me, was always an issue with CM Punk. Seeing him try to do the GTS on big guys was painful, period. And you obviously got to be good on the mic. That was the last thing that Seth added, but he got it. He ultimately got it. And then the other thing is you got to have presence. When you walk on stage, when you walk in front of the camera, it's got to mean something. The two people that had the most presence that I've ever seen of any wrestlers is Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Those two dudes don't even have to open their mouth. When they walk out, it's like the dude is here. But Seth has presence too. I think he has all 5 tools.
The presence is definitely right with him. When I hear Brock Lesnar's music, a part of me just goes, "Oh no, oh no!" Like I don't know what it is. As soon as I hear the guitar riff, I'm just like, "Oh no, I can't see this right now. I'm not ready for this, and I don't think the dude in the ring is either. He reminds me of Vader, man. I know some potatoes are coming, and if you don't sell for him, he's gonna make you sell for him.
Right. Are you worried about Ryback being his being stiff? Because I think he's the one who hurt Luke Harper, and it's hard to blame Luke Harper because of how good he is in the ring. It's just hard to believe that he made that error.
I am with CM Punk on the Ryback situation, and I know that's probably not the greatest thing for Ryback fans, but I think Ryback's a sloppy dude in the ring, man. And I shared a good Ryback story probably, I don't remember, it was a week or two ago on the show, but Ryback's a really nice guy. I saw a bunch of kids waiting for him, and they're sitting there waiting. First person who comes out is EJ Manuel. EJ thinks that it's for them. They're like, oh, yay. And it wasn't, they weren't waiting for EJ. They saw Ryback coming. And Ryback stopped, and he took pictures with him, and he was the first one in there. And I was like, wow, he's a great dude. But when I watch him in the ring, he is very careless. He drops guys, and he thinks you're going to do all the work for him, I think. He's so used to being the big guy. Oh, I'll sell for you. I got you. But sometimes he gets too happy. I'm like, oh, man, that looked disgusting. Like, even sometimes when he does a shell shock from another move, the guy's body's not right. And I'm just like, yeah. Hopefully nothing bad happens.
Yeah. I like Ryback, but yeah, I'd have to agree.
Who else do we have? So Lesnar steps on Ambrose's face, which looked painful. Then we get to the Usos defeating the Ascension. I got nothing.
Whatever.
The Ascension, we can keep it moving. I do like the Dudleys turning heel. I think they are much better in that role.
Yes.
And I'm holding out hope for a TLC match. Please let the Dudleys and Usos talk New Day into it. You could have 4 or 5 teams. I don't care. Just start WrestleMania with that, with some mayhem. I think that's the way to go.
That would be awesome, man. You can throw in the Lucha Dragons in that too.
Absolutely. I think that would just be an off-the-chain match, and it would just get everyone hyped. And I think if you want to fill that stadium in Dallas with 100,000 people and show the Cowboys this is how WWE rolls, you need to have – I don't care if every match is a gimmick match. You got to bring your stuff. This is your A show, and this is your A game. This is what you're selling to people. Like, you can't miss this.
Yeah. I'm all for every match is a gimmick match for WrestleMania. I have no problem with that. They ought to have a pay-per-view where every single match is a gimmick match. Like that should be like the design of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, better than those the TLC and Extreme Rules. I'm not a fan of those. Like every other month, and they try and switch it up, but we'll see what happens.
Just have a pay-per-view where every single match is going to be a gimmick match of a different type. So not everything's a TLC match. None of that. You know, this first match is an ambulance match. Next match is a cage match. Next match is a lumberjack match, which they don't seem to ever do right anymore. But
what else do we have? Okay, so we get to your favorite, Jericho and AJ Styles segment. They come out and they're talking about the respect, and Social Outcast comes out. So we talked about Jericho. What do you think of AJ so far? Being in WWE, is he living up the part? Does he not feel like he belongs?
I think he's already one of the 3 or 4 best in-ring workers in the company already. I don't think he's great on the mic at all. I don't think he's dreadful, but he's absolutely not a standout on the mic at all. But because he's so great in the ring, because he does have presence, and because he already has such a huge fan following anyway, I don't think he necessarily has to be good in the ring. I mean, I would love to see an AJ Styles Cesaro feud. Oh my God. That would be ridiculously good. AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, which they teased, would be great. You know, because because he's light enough and he sells well enough for Owens to throw him around. You know what I mean? I think it would be, another thing I think bothers me is I don't know what's up with the look he has now, AJ Styles, that overly matured Beatles look or whatever he has. I don't know what that is. I don't, the floppy thing with the hair and I don't dig it.
I think that's something he picked up in TNA, and then in Japan, I don't know, a lot of guys have that kind of hairstyle.
Yeah, they need to stop that.
I'm not fond of it either.
It's weird looking.
Well, they basically go on to defeat the Social Outcast. I don't know if they're continuing this feud with AJ Styles and Jericho, but whatever. I think it's just to get them through and along to WrestleMania. Stephanie's backstage, and she's all upset about Shane still, and Triple H says, well, do you want to give Roman the bad news, or do you want me? And Stephanie, gleefully, being Vince's daughter, says, I'll go give him the bad news that he's got a match with Sheamus. And I said,
yeah,
another one. So you knew what was coming with that. And then we get to Goldust and R-Truth. I wrote down cake segment for this one.
Terrible segment.
I don't know what they're trying to do. These are getting worse and worse. I liked them at first, where I was like, okay, they're being goofy, but I don't know what they're doing with this.
Yeah, I mean, you know what this is? It just shows you that the show is too long. The show is too long, man, because when you have a 3-hour show, you're bound to have these types of segments because you just run out of people on the roster to put out there. And then when you look at the fact that you got major injuries to big time guys like Cesaro, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, it's gotta happen, because you got a 3-hour show that you gotta fill, but I don't know, man. I would have rather seen, instead of having Jericho and AJ Styles come out there, I would have rather seen AJ Styles get attacked by the Social Outcast and him do some awesome stuff and beat all of them or something like that. Just distance him from Jericho. How about that?
Yeah, I hopefully it gets to that. I don't know if they're going to go triple threat, maybe with Owens involved as well, or if they're going to just stick with AJ Styles and Jericho having another match at WrestleMania. I don't know. Maybe Jericho turning heel would make this more interesting.
That would be terrible. It's, oh my God, just get Jericho away from everybody.
He's around for a while. I don't know. I don't think he's leaving until after Mania, at least, or until after that April pay-per-view.
You know what would be better? Let him be a part of the announce team or something. I think that would be better for him. I think that's where he is right now. As far as, I think that's what he can still do. That's great.
And I wouldn't mind him being on the Raw. Now, if I could, I would replace all three of them with Jericho, Mauro Ranallo, and I don't even know if there's a third one. I don't even know if I would want a third person out there.
I wouldn't remove JBL. I think JBL does great. I think JBL has to dumb down his approach, because Byron Saxton absolutely can't keep up. Sometimes Byron Saxton, I forget he's even there. And Michael Cole is just really tired at this point. Michael Cole, you know what Michael Cole is like? Michael Cole is like, how when you play a sports video game and they haven't changed the commentating for like 5 years?
WWE?
Yeah. So after a while, you just tune it out. Michael Cole is old video game commentating right now.
Absolutely. There's, man, I wish Jim Ross was still around.
Yeah.
It just hurts me.
Jim Ross had a way of making everything seem important.
He would just scream about stuff and give you good. I thought this dude thought it was real sometimes when Stone Cold would come out.
My God, they killed him. As God is my witness, he is broken in half.
and King's not even the same without him. Like, you could tell King, piece of King went when he went. And I'm glad King's the heel again.
Yeah, King needs to be the heel, and that he's better at that. JBL's great at it too, but I love JBL. I think he's awesome. I don't know why Byron Saxton is there. I really don't. Like, I don't get it. I don't know if it's an affirmative action. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know why he's there.
I think he was just around a long time in FCW, and he put in his work, and they probably promised him, like, we're going to get you something good, and then nothing good ever came. And they're like, all right, let's put him on the announce team. He's all right. And they just let him flounder there, and he stayed there. Kind of like what they started doing to Alex Riley, the same thing. And then he was like, I want to come back in the ring. and we'll see how that works out for him. But Mauro Ranallo, are you familiar with his work in MMA or?
Absolutely.
I swear to you, that's the only reason I watch SmackDown now is because of him. I mean, he actually sounds like he cares about the product. He sounds intelligent, fresh, a new outlook on it. He brings even like combat sports like things into it, and I really, really like that he does that.
I love it, man. The dude is awesome. He's actually been around for a long time, man. Like he actually was the voice of EA MMA. It was the video game EA MMA back in the day. He was the voice of that. He was the voice of Strike Force when Strike Force was still around. He did Glory Kickboxing. I mean, he still does boxing on Showtime now. He's just a beast. He's a beast. He's very, like you say, he's very fresh. He's very hip. I mean, like what was this? When he called the pre-show match, the dude made a Drake Meek Mill reference. He was like, they're going back and forth like Drake and Meek Mill. I'm like, yeah, he does stuff like that all the time. But then at the same token, he can turn around and correctly identify a Michinoku driver and stuff like that. So he's a beast. He's a beast.
Love it. We get to the Wyatt family defeating Ryback, Big Show, and Kane. Ryback walks out. I didn't understand if he was a heel or a face after from even the interview segment, what they were expecting from Ryback. I didn't understand that. So your thoughts on Ryback and the Wyatt family booking and the whole thing?
Maybe he's gonna be another member of the Wyatt family.
I don't know. I mean,
he already hurt one of them, so maybe he has to take his place. He already broke Luke's arm, so maybe he got to take his place. I don't know, man. I think they're waiting too long for Braun Strowman. I think Braun Strowman should have been elevated already off that team, or not even necessarily off that team, but elevated as the guy. Like you know what? I think he should be. There's been enough time. He should have probably been in the main event at WrestleMania.
I don't know. I would have to disagree on that. I think that.
I mean, if you pub him right, if they had pushed him the right way, I mean, has he even had a singles match?
I think he's had a couple, but the problem with him is I've noticed in a lot of multi-man matches, like when they were feuding with the Dudleys and the ECW guys, he always seemed out of place. And you know how it is. If you've seen the Botchamania videos, you can hear them like screaming to him, like, "Hey, you're supposed to be over here, catch me!" And he's missing the catches. And I'm like, I don't think he's ready yet for the big leagues, like where he can go in there. Like people said against the Undertaker was a rumored match. He's not ready for something like that because Undertaker needs someone who could carry him.
Yes. That I do agree with. But what I'm saying is, what I mean when I say that he should probably be in the main event, I'm saying that this guy has that presence in the ring. When he walks in there, he has that look that if you cultivate it and if you develop him, then he is the type of dude who could be that number one heel that makes you work. He should be a WWE champion at some point, you know, and even maybe if he doesn't carry it that long, but he has a career, he has the type of setup where he could be a monster for 10 to 12 years, a la Kane.
I think that's possible if he makes himself become better, a little more agile, and if he makes himself better. Because I tell people the problem with Great Khali's not a bad dude. I think he's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. The problem with Great Khali is his in-ring work was so bad that I couldn't even watch it. I'm like, come on, brother. Do something.
Not that bad, though.
Who?
I don't think Braun's that bad.
No. He's got some athleticism to him. It's just Khali
like Great Khali had like literally club feet. Literally.
Yeah, like it looked painful for him to walk out there. I'm like, but then you got Big Show and Kane. I loved the podcast with Big Show last week. I don't know if you had a chance to catch that with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He seems more human now, and there weren't as many please retire chants during this match. But him and Kane, I don't know how much longer they're gonna stick around, man. These guys are.
You know, I'm going to tell you something about the podcast. I wish somebody had given the Big Show a towel. I mean, he was just sitting there dripped and wet with sweat getting interviewed. And it was distracting because it looked disgusting. And I couldn't barely even hear what he was saying. I'm like, somebody turn on a fan or something. Dude, get the man a big dry towel or something and just dap him off. What is going on? Where are the people who dry off the people? I mean, my man, he's just sitting there looking like a big wet Christmas ornament. It was bad, man. I said, I'm trying to hear what he's saying. And have you ever been somewhere and you were just hot and people were trying to talk to you? That's what it looked like.
Big Show, I think, was ribbed on. I think someone got him because to be in the main event match that night and then start the podcast. All right, big man, you got to run all the way back there and find Stone Cold. Like, he was running too, probably.
Right. And that's why nobody gave him a towel, man. Can the dude get a towel? He's been a wrestler for 19 years. He could get a towel.
Yeah, I think he was too busy using it to cover up drinking that beer Stone Cold gave him, trying to keep kayfabe alive. Like, well, I'm a good guy, so I don't drink.
But it was good. It was the interview and everything was pretty solid. It was cool actually seeing those baby pictures of him. That was crazy. But then my son, we were watching it, and my son was like, those stories he's telling about when he was a kid, is that bad? I said, yeah, that's bad. I said, imagine if you went outside and every time you tried to go play with your friends, people came out and said no and started taking their kids away. I said, he's talking about it like he's laughing now, but imagine how he felt when he was a kid. Yeah.
Real bad. I know the exact feeling playing football with college kids and like, what are you guys on? Oreo steroids or something? How are you guys? But not too bad. And you kind of touched on the Wyatt family. Do you think that they're gonna make them better? Have they been trying to book them better, or is it just a big mess?
I don't like what they're doing with the Wyatts at all. Personally, that's just me. I feel like Bray. I think Bray should have been a WWE champion already. I really do. Honestly, Bray doesn't have any weaknesses. He doesn't have any for what he is and for who he is. What is it that you could say Bray needs to do better? His matches are solid. He moves extremely well for a guy his size. We don't even got to talk about the mic work. We don't even got to talk about the presence. Even the selling. His selling is awesome, especially for a big guy, because big guys really generally have a hard time selling properly. He sells great. His finishing move can be put on anybody. I don't understand.
I like how he even sells stuff like in the Royal Rumble when it was him and Triple H going face to face. You would think they're both heels. They're going to team up and do something. And when I think Triple H said, "Hey, let's get him," Bray grabbed him and said, No, you don't tell me what to do. And I like that.
Yes.
It's just such a different kind of character that I want to see more of and see. Personally, I thought it was going to be him and Lesnar in that match, and I was like, I think Bray needs to beat Lesnar if they book that. But they went in a different route. But
yeah, it looked like they were going a Wyatt versus Lesnar thing, and I thought that would have been, man, you could actually probably sell Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt as the WrestleMania pay-per-view as the main event. I think you could probably sell that.
That was another plan I said for the Rumble. You don't need to have Roman versus Triple H for the belt. It could have been Bray Wyatt wins the belt. You're all surprised and shocked, and now Lesnar's going to challenge him for the title. Maybe it's not the main event, but that could be one of them. You can still sell the show off of that.
Imagine what it would be like if Bray Wyatt wins the world championship and nobody sees it coming, right? The next day on Raw, he has the most crazy, dark, crazy, horrible celebration on Raw, talking about how he has taken over the world. Everything belongs to him, that he is at a place of power that nobody ever imagined he would be. And he says, I will never relinquish the WWE championship. It's mine forever. And then the lights go out. I mean, it would be crazy. And then people start trying to take the title from him, and he's still got the Wyatt family there. So it starts to look like it's impossible for him to lose it. And That's it. That's it. He deserves that.
He's worked incredibly hard coming from the Husky Harris character, and like you said, there's nothing wrong with this guy. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's got it all, man. WWE just needs to line it up.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, and this dude, he has like no off switch with it, man. We went to the WWE Performance Center, right? And we're thinking we're just there, but Bill DeMott was still there. So we're thinking we're just still there. And Bill DeMott is giving us a tour. And we're standing there, and he's like, yeah, so this over here is this. And all of a sudden, the lights go out. And it's nothing but journalists there, right? And then the music comes on, and this dude walks down they have a ramp at the Performance Center so they can practice their entrances. He comes walking down the ramp. I am not gonna lie to you. Me and a couple people out there were legit scared. and then because when he gets next to you and you see how big he is. Now, I'm a big guy, so I'm a little bigger than him, but he's a big dude. You know, he's a big dude. He's about, as I'm 6'5", 275. He's about 6'3", 280. And he's a legit big person.
And you see how fast he moves on that the dive he always does. That scares me to death.
Oh my God, dude, this guy's a defensive end waiting to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so he's got the presence, man. He's got the presence.
So we get on to the next match. We got Sasha Banks defeating Naomi. Charlotte comes out with Ric Flair on stage, planting the seeds for Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks match. Winner's going to face Charlotte for the Divas title, it looks like, at WrestleMania. And I know you're not a Becky Lynch fan. Now, I like Becky Lynch. Now, I watched your reviews. Now, I like Becky Lynch, and I think she's proven herself with her mic work over the time, and I think she's one of those people who I feel is victim of when you get brought up to WWE. She needs the time to show her in-ring work, kind of like Natalya. Like, I feel like you don't get to appreciate Natalya unless you've watched her have a 15 to 20-minute match. She knows how to make her selling and her match psychology show in the ring.
Well, yeah, I think Natty is good in the ring. I think Natty is very underrated in the ring. I don't think Becky's good in the ring. I think it looks, I mean, she's not Brie Bella bad, but she's not great in the ring, in my opinion. She prances, that gimmick is, oh my God, I hate it. Oh my God, it drives me nuts. I don't like it. She's cute. I think she's cute. She's cute with face. I'm not there with her. Now, Sasha is phenomenal. She's phenomenal. She is the best worker. She's the best diva worker since AJ. Easy. And her and AJ are the two best since Beth Phoenix. And I think they're both better than Beth Phoenix, but Beth was the last really good in-ring worker as a diva that they had before them, to me. And I thought Karma was great too, but that was like lasted a half hour. But she was great, you know. But I mean, Sasha is a legit, you know. And the problem always with the divas are they're usually so top heavy, no pun intended, but they're usually like really top heavy, and the rest of the whole division is bad. And it's always that way. It's always that way. So right now you got Charlotte and you got Sasha and you got everybody else. You know,
I think with the divas, I think you're starting to see that it's that changing period of, and I did that on purpose, the changing of the Alicia Fox and Bellas and who else did they have? Kelly and several other people. It's the changing of the guard to women who can wrestle. They look all right. They're not as beautiful or model looking as the other ones, but they can still go in there and do their thing. And I noticed it when they were booking that like Team Bad versus Alicia Fox and the Bella Twins. You could see the issues in the ring that they're having. Like, she's not as athletic. She can't make this move look as good as I want her to. oh, this is killing me. And you can see the frustration on their faces while it happens sometimes. I'm like, it's not NXT anymore. Vince is only going to give you 7 minutes. You got 7 minutes, do your thing.
Yeah.
Versus Triple H is giving you 20. But I like it. I'm hoping if they do go one-on-one, please let it be Sasha versus Charlotte, Ric Flair in Charlotte's corner, and Snoop Dogg in Sasha Banks' corner. I would love it.
Oh, yeah.
That Snoop versus Rick on the mic.
Yeah, that would. But you know what, though? Snoop, every time they've ever given him the mic in the WWE show, it's been really bad. I think they should just let him talk. Don't tell him what to say. Just let him talk. Just tell him don't use the big-time curse words. And just let him talk. I think that would work out so much better because when non-street people can't write for street people because it doesn't sound street anymore. You know, so you got some guy in a room trying to talk like a write for Snoop. No, it doesn't.
You already got enough people trying to butcher talking like Snoop every day when you're talking at work or something. Someone you bring up Snoop and then someone says for shizzle. I'm like, stop
it's
right
bad.
now.
It's like Justin Bieber ghostwriting for Snoop song. It's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. So I think that's the thing. If that happens, then that's great. But to be honest with you, I think both of them are so good that they don't necessarily need that.
I think it would be just something fun to add in there for the person who's at your house watching WrestleMania. That's like, man, I haven't watched wrestling. Oh, that's Snoop Dogg. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, and that's what
WrestleMania sit there and come in.
Yeah, and that's what WrestleMania is. WrestleMania is supposed to be for the casual fan as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely.
All right, and then we get to our last main event segment. We got Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. Usual match. Everything happens good. Then all of a sudden you hear the Triple H music, but he ain't wearing a suit and tie. Credit to Justin Timberlake, so I don't get sued.
Yeah.
Triple H comes out with the leather jacket on with the title, and he means business. He's got the hands taped up, and Roman got the dog mess beat out of him in this one. It was bad. He took a beating. And the only thing I can say is the formula still works in wrestling. Red equals green. I think a lot of people were like, oh, God, yeah, this is getting good. Just the different reaction. I was surprised that so many people cheered Triple H for the beatdown. It was just crazy.
That just shows you how much people hate Roman. You know, that just shows you how much people hate Roman and they love brutality. Perfect combination.
Yeah. But that's the Raw recap. And I just got a couple other things that I want to go over with you here. Hall of Fame class. We only have 2 names announced right now. We have Sting and The Godfather, which looks really weird when they just show who's in already. Yeah. And I see Sting, and then I see The Godfather who's a pimp next to him, because I know Sting's a Christian, man, if most people don't know. And it's just funny to see those two next to each other. And I'm just like, who did this?
Yeah.
But is there anyone else that you want to see get into the Hall of Fame that's been overlooked from the past? Or who do you think going in this year?
I think they already leaked who's going in, and the WWE is trying to act like that didn't happen. But everybody whose name actually leaked on that list so far as the Godfathers came through, I'm assuming the other guys are going to come through too, which is the Fabulous Freebirds and then Regis Philbin. So I think that's going to stick to that. Now, will they throw one person in just to try to throw you off? Maybe. Honky Tonk Man is one person that comes to my mind that I think that's kind of crazy that he's not there. You know, I think he was one of the better Intercontinental champions of his era. I think that he should definitely be there. I don't like the celebrity induction guys. I just think it's stupid. Why is Regis Philbin going into the WWE Hall of Fame? Like, why?
I think it's just a way to attract them back. Would Drew Carey have ever came back for any other reason? Probably not. So they're like, let's get Drew Carey here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think the wrestling fan cares, but I think they just use it as another outlet for, okay, Drew Carey's on Twitter talking about how he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll catch a few eyeballs from that. Or maybe we'll grab some people's attention like, oh, yeah, I remember when he came out for wrestling. Let's see what it's like.
Yeah.
I had a couple names down too for people who I think I could see going in. Demolition. Why aren't Axe and Smash in the Hall of Fame? They're one of the greatest tag team champions of all time. I think they still have the record for the longest reign. It hurts me to not see them in there. Like, I'm just like, and they still wrestle to this day once in a while. Why, I do not know, and it probably is really bad, but
I'm sure it's bad. But yeah,
I think they should definitely be in.
Yep.
Ravishing Rick Rude is another one I have down.
Yeah.
Hurts me. Diamond Dallas Page is someone who I think you could put in. You put in the two people we helped, Scott Hall and Jake the Snake. Put DDP in. Absolutely. He should have never even got there at that age. And Lex Luger is another one who I just think that I'm like, it's kind of weird he hasn't been put in yet. But I can see them wait until after Sting and stuff.
Yeah. I don't have an issue with either. You know what though? Is Miss Elizabeth in?
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I think that should have been a combo deal with Macho Man.
Yeah.
Because those two were. Listen, when I watch WrestleMania 7 still, man, I get the goosebumps. That's how I know a match is good. If I can go back and watch it after I haven't seen it in a while, and I still am like, oh, God. Ooh. When Miss Elizabeth came back and hugged Macho Man and stuff, I'm like, oh, man, that's perfect stuff right there. You don't get better stuff than that. I think she should be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Jimmy Hart's in either. He's another one that I'm like, he did a lot of music and stuff. And even Jim Johnston's another one you could put in there. Like, there's so many people.
Now, you know who won't get in that deserves to be in, but they won't get in because of some other issues is Jim Cornette.
Yes. I think he will eventually. He's just got to learn to chill out.
Yeah, he goes so hard, man. He goes so hard. But he definitely he should be in. He absolutely should be in. I mean, that guy. Wait a minute, is Bobby the Brain Heenan in?
Yes. He went in a while back.
Yeah, okay. I think after I said that, I said, oh yeah, he's in.
Yeah. There's just a bunch of good people. Hopefully WWE finds a way to eventually put them in and they get past it. And I'd like to see the Hall of Fame become more legitimate. Yeah. I did a project when I was getting my MBA, and I had an idea for basically having the Hall of Fame set up in Orlando, how they could do a voting process with some fan participation in who goes in, and then it gets to the wrestlers and they vote for who goes in. They need to have something like that, I feel, to legitimize it more than it's just Vince McMahon's imaginary. Like, yeah, Coco Beware was great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree. I think the more legitimate that it becomes and the less it becomes that type of political thing, the better it is for the overall WWE, because you get the feeling that they want to be recognized as a sport more. And the path to doing that is probably by legitimizing it a little bit more. Like, I would love to see a ranking system, like an official WWE ranking system, where they have explanations and everything. Like, well, if you win a match by pinfall or submission, you get these amount of ranking points. If you win a match, if you win by disqualification, or you don't get these amount of points. I mean, you still are controlling it. You know what I'm saying, with the statistics, with the I'm sorry, you're still controlling it with your writing, but it gives people a frame of reference to go back to, and it would help for the history of the WWE as well. Now, obviously you have to start at some place, but I think it would be a cool thing to bring in. You would literally like say, oh, okay, well, people are going to be able to, it just gives you something else to talk about. So like, okay, AJ Styles is up to rank number 11. Now they're already talking about a match that's going to have the top 4 or 5 contenders, or the top 4 contenders in a fatal 4-way in the main event of whatever pay-per-view. If AJ Styles can gain 30 more ranking points and get into the top 4, he'll be in the match. So that just, that gives you some more fodder to go with. I think that would be awesome.
Absolutely. I always wonder doing that, though, if you would lose the idea of, I'm trying to think of a good match that I always like basically a Triple H versus Taka Michinoku kind of situation. let's say Taka Michinoku's out there and he would go into a match with Triple H, and then he hires APA, whatever the stuff was, whatever the gimmick is, and he goes out there and he has a great match, but you're like, for 1 second you may say, hey man, what if they let Taka actually beat this dude? Kind of like that night where Jericho beat Triple H. No one thought that. He was a mid-card guy at the time. You're like, whoa, what just happened? Mm-hmm. And even though they did the whole reversal of the thing, it's still one of those moments that people remember during like the Monday Night Wars or during wrestling when they were watching, like, man, that actually happened. That was really cool when Jericho beat Triple H in the first opening match of Raw for the belt, even though they reversed the decision. You think that would mess it up, or?
Well, no, because I still think you can have that kind of thing. Like, you can say something like, okay, so there's a guy who's not even ranked in the top 10. And you can say, okay, well, Seth is the champion and Seth's going to fight this guy just because. Whatever you're saying, just because. And 9 times out of 10, Seth smashed the guy. The guy has a couple of good moments in the match or whatever, but whatever. And so he gets a certain amount of, he gets a certain amount of love, but he doesn't win. But then maybe out of nowhere, one day he does win. So that brings you the surprise. And then now he's the champion. And now you have some built-in storylines because you got some other superstars saying, how in the world, this guy's a champion? He wasn't even ranked in the top 10 when he got his championship. I want a shot at him. I want to take that belt off him and give it to somebody who's ranked, who really deserves it. You still are in control of whatever you want. You just have some parameters that fans can relate to.
What I do like about it is, like you said, I think that could help with the consistent booking of the same matches, which is what kills me trying to watch this sometimes, of seeing like the Wyatts just fought the same people back to back.
Right.
And it would help maybe saying, well, now as a tag team, you guys moved up a ranking. So now your next people to defeat will be the Lucha Dragons, and maybe they get no feud with them.
Right.
So that is a good thing for it. And one last thing before we go, Mr. Mazique, it's going to be, I want you to fantasy book your WrestleMania card for me. What matches do you want to see? What do you like already that you can take with you and put on your own card? You're booking WrestleMania 32. You need to fill up the stadium, 100,000 people in Dallas, Texas at AT&T Stadium. What are you going to book?
How many matches?
You can do whatever. It's up to you. You can do 8. You can do 5. Just set them up for me. You don't have to tell me who wins. I just want to hear your card.
My card would be we started off with the match we talked about, the New Day, the Lucha Dragons, the Usos, and the Dudleys in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. That absolutely would happen. From there, I would come back with a something with Titus O'Neil. I think that Titus O'Neil deserves some love. He's about 38, I think, and he don't have a lot of time, but he can still perform in the ring. I think if they let him loose and they let him be the kind of urban guy that he is on the mic, I think he would get fans, but they won't seem to totally let him turn him loose. So I would love to see him. Maybe you have him against Mark Henry, or you have him against somebody, obviously somebody he's going to beat, but somebody he can really look good against, and it's going to mean something when he wins. So I would like to see that. I would like to see AJ Styles, Kevin Owens. I think that is an absolute. I would like to see AJ Styles, Kevin Owens in either a best 2 out of 3 falls or a 20-minute or a 60-minute time limit match. It's not going to go that long, but something that's a marathon where those two guys get to really, really do their thing. I think Dolph Ziggler against Dean Ambrose in a cage would be awesome. I think Dolph's selling, Dolph's flair, and Ambrose's presence in there, and turn Ambrose heel in the match completely. He's a perfect guy to turn heel against because Ziggler has the big time fan base. And if he does Ziggler wrong, that will probably turn him heel for sure. I would like to see Lesnar against Bray Wyatt. I think that is absolutely the type. That's the match for sure to have. And then I would say Roman Reigns. It's kind of hard to find him an opponent. I don't think Triple H is the right opponent for him. It's difficult because he's got to be in there against a major guy. I got to get him in a match, but I don't know where I put him. I got to get him in there, though. But everybody really traditionally that he would face, I've already given to somebody else. I don't know.
Would he be able to carry someone like an Undertaker, would you think?
I just think that's a pointless match, though.
I can see it. With all the injuries lately, it's very difficult to.
Yeah, it's a thin roster. Because Roman Seth would be great.
He's out. Cesaro's out. I think Cesaro and Roman could put on a heck of a match. Should they give them the main event time?
Great match. Awesome match. But like you said, it's a very limited situation there. But that would be, I'm sorry. And I'd also have Becky and Charlotte for the Divas Championship.
Oh, you're gonna show Becky some love. I like it.
Yeah, Becky. I'm sorry. I meant Charlotte, Sasha. I'm sorry. I meant Charlotte, Sasha. And you know what? Charlotte, Sasha in a submission match.
That would definitely be awesome. Only because the girls' submissions look worse than the dudes. Guys, step up your game. But Mr. Mazique, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. If you got any shout outs, anything you want to plug, please feel free to do so now.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on. I've had a long time, had my gaming YouTube channel, FranchisePlay Sports, and I've done some real sports, WWE stuff on there. But recently I decided to divide those up. So my channel that I've always had is still a gaming channel and it's still there. But beginning on February 28th, I will be launching my all-out sports WWE channel only with no gaming. The channel is already up. So if you just go to YouTube and you put in my name, Brian Mazique, as it appears there on the bottom of the screen there in the lower third, you'll find the channel. Go ahead and subscribe there. All types of content. That's where my WWE recaps will be, my UFC recaps, my boxing recaps, just different pieces that I may do, countdowns, all that sort of thing. Ask FP if you're interested in following me, and for that type of content, go ahead and subscribe to the new channel. And if you like gaming and you haven't yet seen FranchisePlay Sports, check me out there too.
Highly recommended, folks. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show. I will have all that information from Mr. Mazique in the description box below. I will also have his Twitter account in there and both of his channels. Make sure you subscribe to him. It's great content if you love sports, wrestling, video games, all the stuff that all the guys love that usually watch this. And folks, this has been episode 7 of Everything Pro Wrestling. Please join us next week. It'll be at the same time, same place. And I want to thank you all. Have a good night.
Peace.